Welcome back to SwitchCorner. My name is Alex, and today, horror fans, we take a look at Layers of Fear 2 on the Nintendo Switch. Now, does this one live up to the psychological horrors of the original, or would they have maybe been best just leaving the series alone? Well, that is what I'm here to find out, so hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and let's get started. So story, and here you find yourself in the shoes of a Hollywood actor aboard an ocean liner. This game is absolutely a mystery for you to unpack, but it contains not only the story of our actors, descent into madness, but also those of ghosts and passengers you see around you. It is intentionally vague on details as it slowly feeds you information, but it is an incredibly intriguing ride that had me hooked as I pushed further and further into it. The issue I have with story, though, I gotta say, I didn't feel like the game in the end gave quite enough to give a satisfying conclusion. It all ended up feeling almost a little too disjointed, and I think they could have forced just a little bit more on the player rather than intentionally kind of hiding it to be found in the world. I understand the intent entirely, and I like the intent, honestly. I just think it's a case of maybe they went just one step too far. With story as well then, just as a final note, there is multiple endings to uncover. So gameplay, and yes, if it had to be described, I would say this is, walking simulator, almost horror exploration. However, here you can sprint, monsters will chase you, so do get ready to run. It's definitely a little bit more quick paced. It does enough though that pacing feels solid and you never feel like it's kind of holding you back, forcing a slow progression. The controls though are mostly simplistic. Interact with items, open doors, get your exploration on. The doors, things like that, objects take a little getting used to, and some interactions it kind of plays with the idea of press the right trigger to actually hold onto something and then make the motion with the right stick, like push up to push the door open. I see what they were going for here with an immersion standpoint, and I'm just going to say here it can take a little getting used to. I want to clarify here, not a problem, but after years of gaming you kind of get used to pressing a button, door swings open. It actually helps with intensity at points as well, like when a monster's in pursuit and you need to slam that door shut behind you quickly. That is seriously intense. The game's biggest success though, it's not the controls, which are absolutely fine, it's the design of the world around you and its puzzles. This isn't just a fight at monsters and ghosts, but the world will change around you, and that makes for something that is incredibly surreal. Like you try to open a door, it's locked, the world like instantly turns black and white, you turn around, and now that layout has changed entirely. The game just makes you want to investigate because what you see is often just a mask for what is truly here, and then it changes on you and you start to question, could I have done something different, or should I have maybe looked at something else before I kicked this in? Its representation of this madness like the original is just absolutely nerve-wracking, and yes, there is the occasional jump scare in here, like turning around and now there's a mannequin directly behind you. But it's the tension that gets me with this one. From the moment I stepped into this world, I was just kind of a mess of nerves, and that never once subdued. It's not the fear of what's in front of you almost, but that sense of what's just kind of out of sight. It's like eyes are always on you, and that's a very difficult thing to pull off, which this studio seems to at this point just mastered. The game's runtime then, it took me right around 6 hours to beat, but it does have multiple endings, and with all the trinkets in the world that kind of deliver more story and just the way the world shifts and changes, I absolutely see reasons now to go back, and there's a few moments that are actually bugging me with that kind of, but what if I had done this instead feeling. The game's exploration then is just all reinforced with puzzles as well, and the occasional one I'd say is kind of a little too out there with its solution, kind of typical for the genre. But for the most part, they were challenging enough to require, some brain power, but never too over the top that the game came to, a complete stop. Also know then two difficulties to choose from here, one where monsters can chase and kill you, and one that is just purely story focused. The monsters are still here, but they don't chase you and they won't kill you. The only other thing worth noting, for the most part, the frame rate is decent for a good chunk of it. It's rated around that 30 frames per second, but on occasion it will drop. I was noticing right around 25, 26, Very rarely that low though, but it's when something big on screen happens. Also, I did notice a very occasional stutter, not frequent, but it is there. Overall though, like, Layers of Fear 2 pretty much had me terrified from the moment I booted it up, and from start to finish I never once lost that sense of dread, which is perhaps the biggest compliment I can give it. So visually stunning, really impressed. When I booted it up, they've crafted this large world that yes starts as a boat, but alongside that descent into madness it quickly transforms and it's barely recognisable as a ship at all. That is exciting, as frequently the game threw unique locations at me and I was always excited to see kind of what they had up their sleeves next. And visually then as well, as I said, it has the occasional jump scare, but its true fear is in the imagery. It's the use of things like, you know, lighting and shadows, as well as just frequent shifts the game makes from colour to black and white, mirroring that old school Hollywood influence. To wrap up graphics and monsters, all that good stuff as creepy as you would expect, but I've purposely left that out of the video today down to spoilers. But outside of the odd pixelation here and there on some of the edges and some of the corners they've cut, you know, textures have been noticeably downgraded, I have very few complaints honestly, and in my eyes this is an absolute success of a port. Audio finally, and a good horror experience. It lives and dies by its sound design, and I will tell you now, this is an absolute success. The music is ominous as to be expected, while also occasionally matching the old school Hollywood vibe, and then the real reason to play this one with headphones, it's got to be all of those sharp tones as, you know, something moves, or maybe that tone of there's something just out of sight, you know, subtle movements. It's enough to make you stop in your tracks and think about whether you should open that next door. To top it all off then as well, the story is just reinforced by some fantastic voice acting. Top work in my opinion, but headphones here, that's the way to go for the absolute full effect. So overall, Layers of Fear 2 is an absolute success, taking what the original did and now for me displaying a little more confidence in the gameplay department. They clearly let loose with their creativity and it absolutely benefits from it, creating a world that is just alive and should absolutely be feared. Honestly, visuals and as well, I thought they looked great and the world was unique and its morphing just kept me constantly surprised. The fear is real and the audio design here is the star of the show. I just sadly was a little disappointed in the story it is telling. It absolutely delivers that descent into madness, but I think again, what story it did give us without collectibles needed to be a little more focused, which would have in turn delivered a more satisfying conclusion. In the end though, I will say I still enjoyed the ride and the intertwined stories, they were still enough to have me push through to the very end. A good 7 out of 10 from me, but a strong recommendation still for horror fans out there. This is definitely up there as one of the better horror experiences available right now on the Switch. Will you be adding this one to the library though, or are you holding onto that cash? With that then, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.